Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for Bellator 137, Halsey versus Grove, which happens on May 15th. Overall, I like this card. I think it's really good. The prelims are strong. You got guys like Julio, Cesar, Neves versus Jordan Parsons. Good prospect fight there. Just Juarez, Rainey's not too bad. Razak, Al-Hassan, Virgil, Zwicker, not too bad. Shawn is on the Untelevised prelims. So, and the main card's good too. You know, Brandon Halsey's fighting, Eduardo Dantas, Richman, Rafael Silva. So, Darrion Caldwell. So, good card overall. Let's get started. In the main event, we have Brandon Halsey versus Kendall Grove. And this is for the Bellator middleweight title. Kendall Grove has a 21-14 record with 1 no contest, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 10 wins by sub. He has 6 losses by KO or TKO, and 3 losses by submission. He's 32 years old. He's 6'6", really tall and lanky for the weight class. He is an Ultimate Fighter winner, season 3, if I'm not mistaken. Right? The one that Bisbing won also, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. He has strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. He's really strong off his back. Will throw triangles and arm bars off his back. His Muay Thai is good. He has particularly good knees. His chin, though, isn't that great, and his takedown defense isn't that great either. Brandon Halsey, 8-0, undefeated record, 1 win by TKO, 4 wins by sub, 28 years old. He's 6 foot, whereas Grove is 6'6". Trained out of HB Ultimate. He is the Bellator middleweight champion. He's a strong wrestler. Has that, one of those crazy pedigrees. Geez, we're talking about Cal State Bakersfield or something like that. Just really strong wrestling pedigree. Strong top control. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is actually really good too. Took Shlemenko's back, choked him out against Brett Cooper. Got a really nice arm bar on him. And his stand-up is improving as well. Kendall Grove's had something of a resurgence as of late. Looks pretty good in Bellator. But I am really high on Brandon Halsey. I think of him as... He's 8-0. I still consider... Even though he's Bellator champ, I still consider him a prospect. He's a guy that's still constantly improving. I actually consider Halsey to pretty much be like the best middleweight prospect outside the UFC, and probably just the best middleweight prospect out there at this point. I can see Halsey getting Kendall Grove to the ground. I think if he stays in his guard, it could be troubling for Halsey, but hopefully he'll get to better positions where he won't be in potential submission danger from Grove. In the stand-up, I'd favor Kendall Grove at this point, but the chin issues of Kendall Grove are a bit worrisome too. Halsey is a big, he's a big middleweight as well. Like I said, I think Halsey can get Grove to the ground. Maybe land some ground and pound too. I'm going to go with Brandon Halsey TKO victory. But for sure Brandon Halsey for the win. Next fight after that, Eduardo Dantas fights Richman. Dantas has a 16-4 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by sub, 26 years old, trains out of Nova União. He is a former Bellator bantamweight champion. He's got some strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's good off his back, good on top. Got the trademark Nova União arm triangle. Did that on like Zach Makovsky. Stand-up solid. Knocked out current Bellator champ Marcos Caldwell with like an uppercut combination, if I'm not mistaken. His takedown defense is actually pretty good. There are some fights, you know, against like Leone, right? Yeah, he fought Leone and he got taken down. And Dantas can be a little too content off his back. And of course, Jill Warren managed to take down Dantas. So I'd say it's good, but I wouldn't say it's great at this point. Mike Richman, 18-5 record, 9 wins by KO TKO, 7 wins by sub. 29 years old on a 2-fight win streak. Good kickboxing, really heavy strikes, both in his, you know, he can get head kick KOs or punch KOs. And his elbow grappling isn't too bad either. Tough fight for me to call because Richman has looked really good at 135. He's got the stand-up to that you just have to respect. Dantas, I think, is the more well-rounded fighter. He's probably the better grappler as well. He's got to watch out in the stand-up. I think Dantas though can do really well in the stand-up here. Richman, I can't see him getting finished, so I'm gonna go with Eduardo Dantas by decision for the win. Next fight, that Fernando Gonzalez fights Curtis Millender. Millender has a 7-1 record, 2 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by decision. 27 years old, pretty tall for the weight class. He's 6'3". Yeah, primarily like a kickboxer. I remember seeing some videos of him before he fought. What's his name? Good prospect himself. I totally forgot his name now. Yeah, he lost his last fight. Got knocked out. But yeah, I haven't seen too much else of Millender's game besides his stand-up. Fernando Gonzalez, 23-13 record, 9 wins by KO TKO, 6 wins by sub. Has 2 losses by KO TKO and 5 losses by sub. He's 31 years old. He's going to be the shorter fighter at 5'9". He's on a 3-fight win streak. Thing with him, he's a good boxer. He throws combinations. He's pretty good in the inside. He's got a good chin, and he's always pushing forward. You know, he's one of those guys that's just kind of solid everywhere. He's not great anywhere, but he's not... He doesn't have huge flaws anywhere, you know. He can strike well. He can grapple well. You know, it takes someone with a superior skill set to beat Gonzalez at this point. I underestimate the guy so much. I'm not doing it again. I'm going to go with Fernando Gonzalez. Heck, I'll go Fernando Gonzalez TKO here. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. He most recently beat Zaromskis. He's got a good chin. He's willing to brawl, but, you know, he's got a good inside boxing game. He's always in his opponent's face. He can win the war of attrition, as shown in the Amasu fight. So yeah, Fernando Gonzalez TKO for the win. Next fight at that, Darrion Caldwell fights Rafael Morcego Silva. Silva has a 22-4 record, 8 wins by KO TKO, 9 wins by sub. 30 years old, trains out of Astra Fight Team with the likes of Julio Cesar Neves and Ricardo Taloni. He's a good wrestler. He's got good top control. He's a good submission grappler. His stand-up's not too bad, and his takedown defense is actually pretty solid. He actually wants his fight against Joe Warren. He's taking Joe Warren down, and Warren, the first 2 rounds, has a hard time taking him down until he gasses out. And I think he only gassed out because he had to do a weight cut, and like he took the fight on short notice. Darrion Caldwell, 6-0 undefeated record, 1 win by TKO, 2 wins by sub, 27 years old, trained out of Power MMA with the likes of Bader and Dalloway. He's a strong wrestler. He's got those, you know, amazing pedigree and whatnot. He's a strong, really strong in the scrambles too. This guy's scrambling ability is nuts. Stand-up is improving as well. This is a big step up for Darrion Caldwell, though. And it's one of the problems in Bellator. You actually saw it with Bubba Jenkins. Right? You know, he's fighting some competition that he can beat. And then all of a sudden, he's fighting Karakanian. You know, it's like, oh, you're going from this level to like a former World Series of Fighting champion, and the guy's been fighting for a long time. Very much a finished product. This is, in a sense, it's kind of similar, because it's like, oh, you know, he's been fighting some decent guys, you know, but no one like great, and all of a sudden you're fighting a guy that has 4 times more fights, more big fight experience, you know. But I am very high on Caldwell as a prospect. This is actually a really hard fight for me to call. But I've always been high on Rafael Silva. I think he's a really good grappler. See, this is an interesting stylistic matchup because Silva, you know, he can stand with his opponents. But a lot of fights I see him with, he likes to grapple. I just don't know if he can do that with Caldwell. You know, Caldwell's just... pedigree-wise, going to be the better grappler as far as pedigree goes. MMA grappling, tough to say. I'm going to go with experience here, though. Rafael Morcego Silva for the win by decision. I think Darrion Caldwell, at the very least, one weakness I see with him, I saw in his last fight, he has pacing issues. You know, he's not as bad as like Bubba Jenkins was, where he's just going like all out. But you know, he really forces a takedown. He does a lot of scrambling, and you know, there's still some energy conservation issues with Caldwell in that regard. And you know, he's not a finished product. You know, his stand-up is something of a work in progress. You know, so I'll go with Rafael Silva for the win by decision. Okay, on to the prelims. These are the televised ones. Not televised. These are the Spike ones. Spike.com ones, my bad. Benji Radach fights Ben Reiter. Ben Reiter has a 15-0 undefeated record with 1 draw. 7 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub. 27 years old. He's big, tall for the weight class. He's 6'3" on a 5-fight win streak. So I did watch his fight against Shamir Garcia. I wasn't very impressed. I'm not gonna lie. I found his stand-up to be decent. It seemed to be just a tool for him to get the takedown. He was also taking even taking head kicks and you know, flush strikes. So he has a handstand style. He does have a good clinch and a good offensive takedown ability. It seemed like his stand-up was a tool to get into the clinch. Benji Radach, 21-6 record with 1 no contest, 17 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. Has those 5 losses by KO TKO. He's 36 years old. He's going to be a much shorter fighter at 5'10". He's on a 2-fight losing streak, and he last fought in December of 2010, losing against OSP back in Strikeforce. You know, he's just been around the block. You know, his stand-up's good. He's been knocked out a couple times, though, so there are chin issues with him. His grappling, you know, I never found him to be a great grappler, but he can grapple. It's average. Tough for me to call just because the guy's coming off a layoff since 2010. He has more experience against Benji Radach, has more experience over stronger competition. Reiter is the younger fighter at 27. He's also the taller fighter. But like I said, I wasn't particularly impressed with what I saw from him. With that said, I am going to go with Benji Radach for the win. By decision, I guess. You know, Reiter was taking some pretty flush shots. So I'll go Benji Radach by KO or TKO for the win there. tough to call because there's so many X factors here. You know, youth versus experience, the height thing. So it's really hard for me to say. I'll go Benji Radach by TKO. It's not a pick I'm super confident in, though. I'm not confident in. Next fight I thought Razak Al-Hassan fights Virgil Zwicker. Zwicker is 13-4 record with 1 draw, 9 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub. 32 years old. He's 6'2". Razak Al-Hassan 6'3". Zwicker trains out of Team Quest. His stand-up, I always found him to be something of a brawler with a really good chin, though. Super resilient. You know, he's not great at any one aspect of MMA or anything, but his gameness is probably his biggest strength. Scrappling's average, you know, like I said, he's not like a fish out of water on the floor or anything like that, but he's not like the greatest of getting the fight to the ground, and he's not great off his back or anything like that. Razak Al-Hassan, 12-4 record, 3 wins by KO TKO, 8 wins by sub at 32 years old. Trained out of Rufus Sport. Last fought in March 2013. It's a karate style stand-up. He'll like do a leg kick and like back off or something like that sometimes. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is actually not too bad though. I tend to underestimate Virgil Zwicker a lot, I gotta say. It's just it's a case of heart over skill with like Zwicker, and it's not to be offend the guy. It's just I don't really find, you know, as far as the technical level goes, he doesn't necessarily have it, but he has heart for days. At the very least, I think Razak's probably the more technically skilled guy. It's more consistent stand-up style. It's good on the ground. So I'll go with Razak Al-Hassan by decision. Next fight after that, Antonio Duarte fights Joe Taimanglo. Taimanglo has a 20-6 record with 1 draw, 4 wins by KO TKO, and 11 wins by sub. Has 2 losses by KO TKO and 2 losses by sub at 30 years old. I remember seeing some of his fights. He fought like Justin Wilcox. He also fought I'm forgetting who else he fought. Nonetheless, I found him to be just relatively average everywhere. He's a strong guy though. Stand-up's average. Pretty good grappler, but his cardio needs some work. I don't know much about Duarte's skill set though. He has an 18-5 record, 4 wins by KO TKO, 11 wins by sub. Man, these guys are identical. 2 losses by KO TKO and 2 losses by sub. That's totally identical. He's on a 2-fight win streak though. Don't know much else about him, so I just gotta go with the guy I've seen. So I'll go Joe Taimanglo by decision. Like I say, for some of these prelims, I have seen some of these guys fight, but other guys, I honestly just haven't seen them fight. Nor do I really care to take the time to really watch video of them. So I'm gonna go Joe Taimanglo. Total pick'em fight for me though, by decision. Next fight, that Julio Cesar Neves Jr. fights Jordan Parsons. Good fight here between 2 prospects, man. Neves has a 30-0 undefeated record, 19 wins by KO TKO, 8 wins by sub. He's 21 years old, training out of Astro Fight Team with Rafael Silva, Ricardo Trelawney. Stand-up's good, and his grappling's good as well. He's got some pop in his strikes. Jordan Parsons, 10-1 record, 3 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub. He's only 24 years old on a 3-fight win streak, and he trains out of Alliance. He's a strong wrestler. He's got some, he's got a good pedigree. I remember I actually saw a couple of Jordan Parsons fights. This is a fight I actually am pretty interested in. I recognize both these guys as good young prospects. I remember he shot a double from really far away. It was lightning fast. It was really good stuff. His ground and pound is good, and his stand-up is improving. He could use work in his stand-up defense, though. Hard for me to call now, man. I was actually kind of leaning towards Neves here, as I think that he can get the better of the stand-up. I'm not big on Neves' level of competition, though. Not saying Jordan Parsons is that much better. He did knock out his last opponent, Tim Baser, and with like a 1-2, knocked him out cold. Stand-up is improving. Trains at a good camp. Both of them train at pretty good camps, though. Wow, yeah, this one's hard for me to call. So Neves is someone to watch out for. He's a good prospect. He's only 21. It is a bit alerting that he has so many fights because I don't know how much wear and tear that's going to put him through at such a young age. I don't think the wheels are going to fall off now or anything like that, but you know, I can see him being a guy in his mid-20s that's already falling off. Right now, though, I think he's fine. Parsons, though, is a good wrestler, and he can always go back to that wrestling. And despite everything, I don't know how good Neves' takedown defense, how good he'd be against a wrestler like Parsons. In his stand-up, I'll favor Neves, though, and that's where Parsons got to watch out. I was originally going to go Neves, but you know what, man? I'm switching my pick. I'm going Jordan Parsons. I think if he's in trouble, I think Parsons can always go back to his wrestling for the win here. Jordan Parsons by decision. Not super confident. I just changed my pick. I was actually going to go Neves, as I'm really high on him, but I can't deny the wrestling ability of Parsons, and he also trains out of Alliance. Hopefully they can game plan well against Neves here. Okay, and for the Spike.com prelims, final fight of Spike.com prelims, Jesse Juarez fights Rainey. Rainey, 10-3 record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. That's his 2 losses by KO or TKO. He's 31 years old. He's got some good stand-up. He actually has some pretty heavy hands. His takedown defense is pretty decent as well. Decent, but not like great, you know. Juarez, 22-9 record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 5 losses by sub. He's 33 years old. Trains out of Body Shop Fitness with the likes of Antonio McKee. He's a strong wrestler with good top control. Stand-ups, I'd say, is just average. I'll go with the wrestling of Jesse Juarez to get the win here. I think he might have a hard time with it, but I think eventually he can put Rainey on his back and probably just grind out a win there. So Jesse Juarez by decision. Okay, on the Untelevised prelims, the only guys I recognize here, I've seen Steve Cazzola. I don't remember much about him. I know he fought on the Bellator undercard. Shawn Bunch, I do know him. Rolando Perez, he fought WEC. And there's actually a women's fight here too. So let's start with Albert Morales fights John Yu. Okay, don't know anything about these guys as far as watching video of them goes. So John Yu has no pro MMA fights. He's 2-0 undefeated as an amateur, with 1 win being by TKO and 1 win by sub, both in the first round. Albert Morales, 1-0 undefeated record as a pro, with that 1 win being by submission. He's 3-1 as an amateur, with 2 wins by sub as an amateur. I'll just go with the guy who has a little more experience here. I'll go with Albert Morales for the win. Next fight after that, Shawn Bunch fights Rolando Perez. Perez is a 7-4 record with 2 draws, 1 win by TKO, 3 wins by sub. He trains out of Alliance. He is a WEC veteran, and he actually fought Jose Aldo in the WEC. I don't remember much about him, though. I want to say he actually showed some pretty decent boxing skills, though, if he's a guy I'm thinking about. Shawn Bunch, 3-1 record, 1 win by TKO, 2 wins by decision, 32 years old, training out of AKA. He's a strong wrestler with that really good wrestling pedigree. I'll go with the wrestler, Shawn Bunch by decision. Next fight, that Ian Butler fights Steve Cazzola. Ian Butler has a 1-1 record with 1 win by submission, 1 loss by submission. Cazzola, 5-0, undefeated record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He's a finisher. He's never been past the first round. I'm going to go with Steve Cazzola by KO or TKO. And finally, in a women's fight, which actually looks pretty interesting to me, is Arlene Angerfist Blencow fights Adriana AJ Jenkins. Jenkins has a lot of experience. She's 18-5, 7 wins by KO or TKO, 10 wins by sub. So only one of her fights that she's won has been to decision. She has 3 losses by sub, 33 years old. She's going to be the taller fighter at 5'8", and trains out of Militich. Blencow, 5-4 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. She also has 3 losses by submission, 32 years old. She is 5'5", which is a shorter fighter. She's on a 3-fight win streak. I'm going to go with the experience of Adriana Jenkins for the win. I'll go with Adriana Jenkins by submission. So to recap on the main card, I have Brandon Halsey beating Kendall Grove, Eduardo Dantas over Mike Richman, Fernando Gonzalez over Curtis Millender, and Rafael Silva over Darrion Caldwell. On the Spike.com prelims, I have Benji Radach beating Ben Reiter, Razak Al-Hassan beating Virgil Zwicker, Joe Taimanglo over Antonio Duarte, Jordan Parsons over Julio Cesar Neves, and Jesse Juarez beating Rainey. On the untelevised prelims, I have Albert Morales over John Yu, Shawn Bunch over Rolando Perez, Steve Cazzola beating Ian Butler, and Adriana Jenkins over Arlene Blencow. So that's it for my predictions for Bellator 137. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.